Okay, guys, so I recently got asked a question about diet and nutrition and, what you should do and how much weight should you cut and different, a few different questions. Honestly, well, I'm not a nutritionist, obviously. I have worked with some amazing nutritionists. I've worked with George Lockhart for years, and George is the man. He's the best, probably the best MMA nutritionist, that we've had in the last 10 years, in my opinion. But a lot of it is, eating clean year round. A lot of fighters have to cut more weight than they should just because fighters are hard-headed. We blow up in between fights. We blow up in between fights. Sorry for that echo in the background. I hear it, but I think I'm in my apartment and someone's playing music or something. But basically, fighters blow up too big. So ideally, you want to eat clean year round, and that's easier said than done, including me. I kind of have a bad diet outside of camps and stuff as well. But a lot of guys just get too big. They get too big in between fights. In different combat sports, cut weight different ways. When you're doing MMA, you can't just run 5 miles a day on top of all your training. You have to grapple, you have to strike, you have to do bag work, sparring, grappling, conditioning. If you do strength and conditioning, you have a lot of factors. A lot of boxers keep their weight down by running. They run 5 to 6, 7, 8 miles a day. And they do that on top, especially if it's a pro fighter that's one that's high level for sure. That when they get to train full time, they're definitely doing that. But even some guys, they'll come in, they'll train an hour and a half, they'll train 2 hours. A boxer will train 2 hours, and then he'll go run 5 miles. So he'll do essentially like a 3-hour practice, right? That's how they lose weight. A lot of MMA guys crash it. They choose to cut 10 pounds in the sauna. I'm kind of in that category as well. I mean, I still run a bunch when I was in MMA. I see the difference now that I'm fighting karate combat. I see the difference is a lot of the karate guys usually are very disciplined. They're more disciplined than MMA guys from what I'm seeing. They don't cut as much weight because it seems like they eat cleaner year round, which is ideal. I'll say that is definitely the preferable way. It's just a lot of these, I feel like a lot of the karate guys come from maybe better backgrounds. So they grew up, in a house that maybe had both parents that's more disciplined, and maybe they were taught to eat healthy when they were younger. A lot of the MMA guys, or even boxers to a degree, are more street kids. And they grew up, just eating whatever they could afford and come from, poor backgrounds and stuff like that. But the answer is to eat clean year round. And then as far as diet goes and specific meals, I would suggest getting a nutritionist. And everybody, you can't say that you can't afford a nutritionist in today's world, because there's guys out there like George Lockhart has a meal plan that you can get $30 a month. If you can't afford $30 a month, then maybe you need to, quit doing some of your extracurricular activities and get a diet plan. That's not going to help you cut the weight during the week of the fight and stuff like that. But for the whole 6 weeks, 2 months you have notice before the fight, you should have a specific plan you follow, and it should be by a professional. And nowadays you can get a good diet for relatively cheap. So that excuse is kind of out the window now, I think. But I would say eat clean year round. If not, then definitely you need to give yourself time, a full training camp. Like if you're walk around way heavier than your fighting weight, then you will, you're gonna need a full training camp. You're gonna need 2 months. You're not gonna be able to take fights on short notice if you're heavy. And that's just, that's what it is. But I definitely think weight cutting is necessary. I just think that a lot of MMA guys, like I said, me included, a lot of guys that came from MMA, that do MMA, they just eat shit year round. And then when they have a fight, they blow up 30 pounds in between fights, and they have to cut 30 pounds over a 2-month time period, when realistically they should just eat clean year round and they would be way lighter. So yeah. That's my advice on that. Eat clean year round. If you can't, then for sure, make sure you get a 2-month camp. Don't take any short notice fights if you think you're not going to make the weight. That way you don't have that. I feel like a lot of guys that cut weight and they lose, they use it as an excuse. Like I've lost some fights and they've been pretty horrible losses and embarrassing. It's what it is. It's the nature of the game. But I never blame my weight cut. I feel like that's a punk cop out. You know what I mean? That's like a punk ass cop out. Like nobody, a real person shouldn't be blaming the weight cuts. And if that's the case, then it's not necessarily that they should be moving up in weight. They should just be eating better, and the weight cut shouldn't have been bad. So something to think about, guys. All right. If you're new to martial arts and you're looking for a good guide to finding a gym, get my book, The Ultimate Guide to Choosing Your Martial Arts School Instructor. The link is in the description below. And comment any questions you might have or any videos you'd like me to go over. Thank you, guys.